I want to ask you about something you said. You said Democrats, there are no election deniers on our side of the aisle. You said that back in January. But recently, you've been using the term rigged elections in reference to the upcoming midterms. Democrats were appalled when President Trump used language like that. How do you justify using that now? Doesn't that undermine faith for voters you need to show up?
No, I've been using that term in the context of Donald Trump's unprecedented effort to gerrymander congressional maps in a partisan fashion all across the country in order to rig the midterm elections and deny the ability of the American people to actually decide who should be in the majority as it relates to the House of Representatives.
You know, Democrats are also going through gerrymandering and redistricting.
No. Well, Democrats are going to push back aggressively to make sure that we have fair maps across the country, not partisan gerrymandering, which Republicans have initiated in state after state after state.
Leader Jeffries, thank you for your time this morning. We'll be right back.
Boy. So what you guys just witnessed there was an amazing clip featuring Margaret Brennan, who decided to do some journalism, which is rare, right? Very, very, very rare to see Margaret Brennan actually engage in journalism when it comes to pressing Democrats on their hypocrisy. Again, as you guys saw, Hakeem Jeffries, the leader of the Democrat Party, got pressed on the fact that they are hypocrites when they come out and accuse Republicans of rigging elections just because Republicans are leveling the playing field, after Democrats for years have gerrymandered their states to the point where there are no Republican representatives, right? I mean, there are a lot of states, particularly in the Northeast, that have been gerrymandered so much that, again, there is no Republican representation at all, right? And now Democrats are boo-hoo-whining and crying that they're getting a taste of their own medicine, okay? Let's be real. Republicans should have way more control in Congress right now than they currently have. But again, if it wasn't for Democrat gerrymandering, if it wasn't for the census counting illegals, Democrats would be in a very, very, very bad situation, okay? They are overrepresented in Congress. Let's be real. So Republicans are finally deciding to do something about this. And of course, Democrats are boo-hoo-whining and crying because they would lose power and control. That is the only thing that they really care about at this point. And we got to talk about this interview on CNN featuring Arnold Schwarzenegger, who is waging a crusade against Gavin Newsom, who is trying to rig California even more than it already is rigged, in favor of Democrats. Now, keep in mind, Arnold Schwarzenegger is not a Trump Republican, right? In fact, I believe he is an anti-Trumper, okay? And that is what makes this interview that he did on CNN even more fascinating, because you can't say that he's doing this in order to protect Trump, right? He literally is standing on the principle that, hey, this type of gerrymandering is bad and Democrats should not do this. Because ultimately this is going to lead to a bad place. Now, again, here's my thing. My thing is this. Democrats have already done it. They're overrepresented, and it's time to level the playing field. We got to do what we got to do to level the playing field. But that doesn't mean that Democrats should try to rig their states even more, while also at the same time kicking and screaming and crying about democracy, right? How democracy is under attack, which is essentially the exact argument that Arnold Schwarzenegger is going to lay out here on CNN. And I want to talk about it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it.
Democratic Governor Newsom was asked this week about your efforts to lobby against the measure. I want you to take a listen to what he said and then respond on the other side.
He's wrong. What we're doing is temporary, it's completely transparent, and it's democratic. This is a revolution that's going on in real time in our country. We need to wake up. Prop 50 is foundational if we're going to save this republic. So I would say to those that are opposed to it, wake up to these new realities. Spare me the moral high ground.
So I know you know this, sir, but this is a prevalent view among Democratic voters and Democratic officials. They think Republicans are blowing up all norms and standards for behavior, and they feel, therefore, they have to take extraordinary action in response. Are their concerns invalid, do you think?
Well, first of all, let me just say that it's important. This is not Governor Newsom against me or me against Governor Newsom. You know, we are friends and we get along, and he came to me and told me about this situation. And we have been working on this without attacking each other and all of that. So that's number one. Number two, I think when they say this is temporary. There is no such thing. I mean, the longest programs are government programs that are temporary. Okay, just remember that if it is a tax program or if it is the redistricting program, anything that is temporary with government is permanent. Right. So they, in the year 2032, when the independent redistricting commission is supposed to come back, they're going to say, wait a minute, there's still gerrymandering going on in Texas. There's still gerrymandering going on in Ohio. There's still gerrymandering going on in Florida. We have to continue with the gerrymandering. This is what's going to happen. They will find an excuse. So therefore, I don't think it is temporary. So that's total fantasy. So the second thing is that you cannot cheat your way out of it. What they should do is, what the Democrats should do is they should outperform Trump. To me, it's all about competition creates performance. And so what they do is with the redistricting commission is that they're going to go and try to draw the district lines in such a way that they get voted in no matter if they work well or not for the American people. So the American people get cheated on this whole thing. That is really the problem here. To me, I understand that the Democrats and Republicans have to fight about this, but the ones that are not really getting anything out of this is the people of America. I think that if you want to really fight for democracy, why would you go and destroy the Constitution in California, tear it up, and go redo it, do the whole thing? So to me, it just doesn't make any sense at all, the whole thing.
As you acknowledged, this all started because of redistricting in Texas, and this was Trump pushing Republican-controlled states to throw out their current congressional maps so as to cook the books, so that it is less likely for Democrats to retake control of the House during the next year midterms. I mean, is it fair to argue that well, do you believe that the Republican Party is starting this?
No, Jake. There has been gerrymandering going on for 200 years. There is such extreme gerrymandering going on that in a state like Massachusetts, that has like 40% of the people voting for Trump, they have 0 representatives. The Republican Party has 0 representatives sent to the House. Think about that. In New Mexico, if 45% of the people voted for Trump and voted Republican, and 0 is sent to the House, 0 representatives from the Republican Party. So there's gerrymandering, crazy gerrymandering going on all over the country, and we wanted to try to stop it in California, and we did stop it in California, and we went around the country. So I think this whole thing about finger pointing and saying they did it, so therefore we should doing it, that's not really the way to go. The one party should outperform the other party. It should be performance. And when it comes to midterm elections, as you know, always the party that is not in the White House usually wins by 20, 25, 30 seats. So what does 5 seats matter in the first place in Texas? It is crazy. Yeah. They should outperform them. That is where the action is.
Let's talk about another issue you care about.
So you seen that, you heard that. Now, the reason why Democrats don't want to outperform Republicans is because when the playing field is even, they can't, right? They can't win, okay? I'm very serious about this. Like, again, nothing pisses off a Democrat more than leveling the playing field. Because as I outlined at the beginning of this video, the playing field is not level right now, okay? Right now, Democrats have more seats in Congress than what they actually should have. Again, because of the census, okay, because of illegal immigrants, because of the fact that they've gerrymandered their states to the max, okay? This is why it's a losing proposition for Democrats to try to, quote-unquote, retaliate against Texas for redistricting their state, because ultimately Republicans have way more juice when it comes to redistricting than Democrats have. In fact, I think North Carolina just approved their new maps, which...
These maps were publicly introduced last Thursday, passed through the state Senate on Monday, and by the House today. As you mentioned, this is one of several issues mentioned by Democrats during that floor debate, accusing Republicans of ignoring thousands of public comments opposing redistricting. With protesters making their voices heard from the galleries Wednesday afternoon, chanting and shouting as lawmakers prepare to vote on redistricting.
66 having voted in the affirmative and 48 in the negative.
This new map targets the state's lone swing seat, District 1, currently represented by Democrat Don Davis, by adding 6 counties which strongly favor Donald Trump in the 2024 election. Republicans say this comes in response to redistricting efforts led by Democrats in other states, including California.
Because what we're defending here today is not just a map. It's the principle that stops the deck from being stacked against us. It's the principle that our delegation in Congress will advocate for the true beliefs of North Carolinians. And it is a fact that we will send one more Republican to Congress from this great state.
Democrats point out that California's move, which is to put redistricting on the map, came after Texas Republicans redrew their maps. Further, they say they were excluded from this process, criticizing the amount of time spent discussing the changes.
This is highly irregular. We have had a very truncated schedule with less than 24 hours between publication of the map and the beginning of the discussion and the debate in the Senate. The public has had very little time to process and understand what we're doing here today.
The president publicly applauding the new map last week.
Please support this legal proposal to help North Carolina help President Donald Trump make America great again.
Right now, states across the nation are facing an increasingly divided political reality as both major parties pursue changes to local congressional maps. This week, Republicans in North Carolina passed a new map, likely giving the party one more seat over Democrats, marking the first swing state so far to be redistricted ahead of next year's midterms. And joining us now is Galen Druke, political analyst and host of the GD Politics podcast. Welcome, Galen. Good to see you again. So as of today, you have North Carolina, Texas, and Missouri. They've all adopted new maps. But as you can see, as we look at this map, there are potentially more to come. So do we have any idea what the net change could be for the House of Representatives next year? I mean, how many seats are being pursued by each side? And frankly, are Republicans coming out ahead, at least right now?
Yeah, Alex, I think the top line takeaway is that Republicans are liable to come out ahead, at least in the short term. So as you mentioned, we've already seen 3 states gerrymander. Texas, Republicans are likely going to pick up 5 seats, Missouri 1 seat, and as you mentioned, North Carolina another. So that's 7 seats that they're likely to pick up so far. As far as Democrats are concerned, they're pursuing 5 extra seats in California, and also starting on Monday, Virginia is going to pursue a gerrymander that could give them an extra 2 or 3 seats for Democrats. That would leave the two parties at about equal if that all went according to plan. But there is every expectation that Republicans are going to move forward in other Republican-controlled states like Florida, for example, Kansas, Indiana, Ohio. And so at the end of all of this, it's quite likely that Republicans could pick up another between 8 and 11 congressional seats, depending on how aggressively they go after these gerrymanders. I mean, there are big open questions about how far they could go in places like Florida, whether state legislators, Republican state legislators, are up to gerrymandering in a state like Indiana. Now, that's in the short term, because in the short term, a lot of democratically controlled states are hamstrung by laws that prevent partisan gerrymandering. But over the next, 2 years or so, these states could make constitutional amendments that would allow further democratic gerrymandering in places like Colorado, for example, or New York State. In addition to what I mentioned, Democrats might be able to pick up a seat or 2 each in Illinois or Maryland, but it's worth saying that Illinois and Maryland are both already quite gerrymandered in favor of Democrats.
Yeah, Democrats don't have any more juice, right? That's what he's saying, right? The juice for Democrats to continue to rig the elections in their own states, okay, they don't really have that much. What they got for the most part is California, and after that, well, hey, they don't really have much ammunition. Again, how did they get here? Well, the reason why is because they've already gerrymandered their state so much that they can't do it anymore. So now you have Republicans leveling the playing field. And again, Democrats are boo-hoo, whine, and crying, right? This is the same reason why they boo-hoo, whine, and cry about when the social media platforms decided, hey, we're not going to censor conservatives as much anymore. Why is that? It's because they know that censorship, okay, is how Democrats cheat, right? This is how they rig the game, okay? This is why Biden was approaching social media outlets, begging them to censor conservatives. Because, again, if you allow Republicans and Democrats, or conservatives and liberals, to compete on an equal playing field, Democrats are going to lose. The only reason Democrats have any power at all is because of the fact that they rigged the system so heavily in their favor that they are able to maintain some power and control, even though almost anything you can think of right now is more popular than the Democrat Party, right? Currently at this point. So again, I don't want to hear the boohoo, whining, and crying, right? Ultimately, at the end of the day, Republicans should have done stuff like this a long time ago. We should have not allowed our country to get to the point where Democrats have rigged the system so much that Republicans are underrepresented the way that we are right now. Okay. And honestly, at the end of the day, I'm hoping that all these Republican states continue to redistrict, continue to squeeze as many seats as they can, because honestly, I mean, that's what Democrats have already done, right? We can't just allow Democrats to rig the game and not respond to it. No, absolutely not. And again, that's the irony here about Democrats boo-hoo-wine and crying about Trump rigging the system or rigging the midterms. Essentially, is another confession, right? Every accusation is a confession, right? They're confessing that, yeah, we rigged it, and Republicans are simply trying to correct what we did, and yeah, we're mad about that. We don't like that, right? So, hey, we're going to see what happens. It looks like Gavin Newsom, at least as of right now, it is likely that he's going to be successful when it comes to pushing through Prop 50, but it doesn't really matter because, again, Democrats don't have that much juice left. So we're going to see what happens. If California does end up passing Prop 50 and they do end up actually really implementing these new maps, I expect states like Florida and others to go ahead and push forward with new maps in order to retaliate, to respond to what California is likely to do. If Republicans go all the way and Democrats go all the way, Republicans will still win. In fact, Republicans are going to have more seats had California just chosen not to respond, right? If they just would have let Texas essentially level the playing field and they would have said, all right, we're not going to respond, that would have been a better outcome than what's probably going to happen if Prop 50 passes in California. So again, it looks like this is definitely going to backfire, and that doesn't even count the Supreme Court decision on the so-called Voting Rights Act that basically allows for race-based districting, okay, which is in favor of Democrats, right? Because Democrats have essentially said that, hey, we have to have these so-called black districts, aka Democrat districts, based off race, which again is blatantly unconstitutional. It is likely that the Supreme Court is going to take a sledgehammer to the Voting Rights Act, which will ultimately net Republicans even more seats. And I just don't think that this is going to work out well for Democrats. But hey, Gavin Newsom is trying to run for president.
You're not afraid to go into red states.
No.
When I saw you slinging shots behind the coffee bar, I thought this guy might run for president.
I have no idea. The idea that a guy who got 960 on his SAT that still struggles to read scripts, that was always in the back of the classroom, the idea that you even throw that out is in and of itself extraordinary. Who the hell knows? I'm looking forward to who presents themselves in 2028. And who meets that moment. And that's the question for the American people.
Is it fair to say after the 2026 midterms, you're going to give it serious thought?
Yeah, I'd be lying otherwise. I'd just be lying. And I can't do that.
Governor, you have long said that if you ever run for the White House, you need a compelling why, a reason. Are you moving closer to figuring out your own why and your own decision?
Yeah, Nietzsche said, if you have a compelling why, you can endure any how. And so I think the biggest challenge for anyone who runs for any office is people see right through you if you don't have that why. You're doing it for the wrong reasons. And so, that fate will determine that.
You certainly seem to like being on the ground in South Carolina, I have to say that. Seeing you up close, you were having a good time.
I happen to, and thank God, I'm in the right business. I love people. I actually love people.
Right. And he is basically creating a situation where Democrats are likely going to lose because he wants to advance his own career. Right. It really just shows you how Democrats are the party of snakes and backstabbers just looking out for themselves. Right. While pretending that they're fighting for the country. No. They're simply fighting for themselves. They're fighting for their power and control. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.